This is the CineSnob Podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 256 of the CineSnob Podcast. I'm Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafana.
Cody, we are in that kind of lull right now, waiting for the Oscars to start.
Mm-hmm.
I believe today the SAG Awards?
Yes, I believe that's true. So last night was the PGA Awards, and then today is the SAG Awards. So a lot of the potential winners are kind of forming into shape here.
Looks like if Everything Everywhere All at Once pulls off the SAG Award ensemble win, a lot of people are predicting that's a lock for the Oscars, but who knows?
Yeah, so, I mean, last night the PGA went to Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I think the PGA has predicted the 17 of the last 20 Best Picture winners. So, it's going pretty strongly right now and trending in that direction, but, anything can happen on Oscar night. But, there's really no, consensus second pick, and I think that's maybe why it's kind of locked in right now because it could either be Top Gun Maverick, it could be The Fabelmans, it could be Banshees of Inisherin. I think it's only between those other three, and it's not like one of those is competing with it at every level, So, I at this point think it's a lock, but we'll see.
Didn't All Quiet on the Western Front was kind of the wild card at the BAFTAs?
At the BAFTAs, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Someone posted on Facebook just a few minutes ago. I saw that the Oscars are now on DraftKings, so you can select the winner. Which I always thought they didn't do because someone knows the answer. It's not like a sporting event,
right? But you can bet on pro wrestling as well.
Oh, you can? Man, I guess
predetermined.
I guess I haven't delved into the world of sports / entertainment betting.
Yeah,
because I know back in the old days you couldn't bet on the Oscars in Vegas because someone knew the outcome. The answers out there. But I guess there's enough people to make it lucrative. Mm-hmm. Have you ever placed a bet on anything like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've done DraftKings games with wrestling pay-per-views and stuff where you can bet because they have pools that you can enter where you enter how many tables are going to be broken and
okay, stuff like that.
Yeah, and you can guess the outcomes of matches too. Yeah.
And then is it only live pay-per-view stuff? You can't do it for taped.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, good to know. One other thing I wanted to bring up this week. We talked last week and trashed pretty thoroughly Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Reports are this week that it has the typical kind of second week drop on movies like this is usually pretty steep, but this is apparently the steepest drop ever for a Marvel Studios movie from week 1 to week 2.
The stat I saw was I think it's the steepest drop ever for a movie that's ever made $100 million or more in its opening weekend.
That sounds like shit you can bet on for DraftKings now, by the way.
I love. I'm fascinated. They used to have this there used to be this box office tournament where you could bid on points for different box office facts. And then risk a certain amount and win a certain amount. I forget what it was through, but I found it fascinating.
Yeah, I remember reading about that though. The movie still made $519 million, so it's hardly a bomb.
Right.
But I mean, relative to everything else, it's incredible the metrics that this thing is living up to, or has to live up to. That's pretty crazy. I don't have anything else to say about it. I just thought it was
yeah, it had a 70% drop off, which is one of the worst second week declines in recent memory.
That, yeah. I mean, it is strange that
I've got some other stats here. Whenever you're
go ahead.
So it fell. So it is the largest drop, at least within the last year. Love and Thunder fell 68%. Doctor Strange 67%. Wakanda Forever 63%. And then like one of the worst drops previously was Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, which was 69%. So it's worse than even that.
It's crazy how front loaded all this shit is. Like it really is bizarre, and it really makes you appreciate like the kind of old school charm of like a James Cameron Avatar movie.
Well, it's interesting because like Top Gun Maverick did that, right? Top Gun Maverick had like huge legs where it was staying in the top for weeks and weeks and weeks, and like that whole like concept of, you know, word of mouth box office sort of dies with franchise movies because the people who are going to see it are seeing it opening weekend, and then it's not going to really you can't stumble across like the 31st entry into a series or whatever.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Top Gun and Avatar are both continuations, but Top Gun might as well be a completely different movie.
Right.
For all intents and purposes. Yeah, it is. It's such a crazy business that it depends. Like, it's ruining things. I mean, clearly it ruins. Like, that's why Netflix cancels shows after a month of release. So, anyway, everything sucks sometimes. But you got anything else to talk about before we move on, Cody? I'm itching to get to this next one, if you know what I mean.
Oh,
I've got the.
Yeah, no, let's get to it. We'll it's gonna be a quick hit today. So,
all right, let's go ahead and move on to reviews.
Here are this week's reviews.
This week we have Cocaine Bear.
Where is it?
Hey! What should I do?
There's something wrong with it.
Yeah, I told you there was.
Why is it acting like this? Did you feed it cocaine?
No, but you're safe. Bears can't climb trees.
Of course they can.
Then why are you up here?
Now, look, I want to apologize to anybody watching the video feed of this show. Thanks to the constant harassment by NBC Universal, anytime that I put up a publicity clip that they've provided for us to use for review, they flag the show and it gets a copyright takedown that I have to fight for like a week at a time sometimes. So sorry, NBC Universal is such an asshole when it comes to using their content on any platform. And I'm serious. This is like content they provide for publicity. So
right.
You just got a Cocaine Bear still with some Cocaine Bear audio. If you're listening to this, you know, disregard all
same
that.
As usual.
But anyway, so this is, of course, the viral sensation. I guess the second one this year, if you count Megan. To hit theaters. To varying results, I would say. Cody, tell us about Cocaine Bear and what you thought of it.
Yeah, so it's interesting with this movie because it's one of those things where it says inspired by true events or whatever, and the true part of this is like very limited to what you actually see on screen, in that, you know, there really was a cocaine drop out of a plane, and a bear really did ingest the cocaine and die.
It just sort of overdosed and like it had like a brain hemorrhage and it wasn't not very pleasant.
And it's like in a museum somewhere, that bear.
It's in a mall.
It's in a mall. Okay.
The dignity that bear was afforded is absolutely none. So
yeah. So those are the elements of the movie that are true, and what you get here is like a what if kind of what we call it, wish fulfillment of what happened if a bear ingested cocaine and then went crazy and killed everyone, which is again about as much as you can say about what happens in the movie. Like that's basically, like, if you can just imagine what that's like, you've seen the movie. It's again, like I said, as shallow as it sounds, which is, you know, you've got this premise of a little girl, Brooklyn Prince, who you may know from the Florida Project.
Yeah.
And she essentially goes out with her friend and they go out into a forest, basically like skipping school, or I think is what they're doing.
She wants to go paint a waterfall. Is the
right. And they run into she basically gets taken by the bear, and then separately from that, you have kind of like a drug ring kind of thing going on where the people whose cocaine was dropped off, they're trying to get it back. And so you've got like O'Shea Jackson Jr. And Alden Ehrenreich.
Yeah.
Who are in the forest trying to get it back, and then you have like another thing with Margot Martindale, who plays a park ranger, who is also out to get the bear, and so you have this cast of characters, and I would say, and Kerry Russell plays the mom of the of Brooklyn Prince, and you have these cast of characters where like I actually think that there is some funny stuff within the dialogue of the movie. I think I actually enjoyed Isaiah Whitlock, who plays a cop. I think he's pretty funny in it. I also think that Alden Ehrenreich is very enjoyable in the movie. There's one scene where the bear like passes out on top of him, and he's like talking muffled underneath the bear that I thought was like funny. But what really this kind of all boils down to is the kills, and it definitely brings the violence. You definitely get limbs that are removed, and you get some other violence from kind of, I guess, like incompetence on the end of Margot Martindale, and but it's one of those things where like if you're into that sort of thing, like if the idea of a bear going on a killing spree on cocaine sounds fun to you, then like you're gonna get what you're promised. If that sounds like a one note kind of exhausting gimmick of a movie, that's what it is. And I think that you might understand what I'm saying here, maybe more than anyone else. But to me, what this reeked of was like late era Kevin Smith, where like if we're talking like Tusk and Yoga Hosers style Kevin Smith, where clearly what happened was like an idea for something that sounded ridiculous and made the person making it laugh, and no one else is really in on the joke. Like just kind of like, hey, what if this happened? And then you go and make that movie, and it has like zero substance, and like it's not enjoyable. Paper thin characters. A script that hits a laugh line every so often, but carries no weight beyond that. Some pretty marginal CGI with the bear. I just found the whole thing to be a little bit exhausting, and like I said, it just feels like you're either in on the joke or you're not, and I did not feel like I was.
I get that. I think it's a little more competent than a late period Kevin Smith movie for sure. Directed by Elizabeth Banks, I should have added. This is her third film after Pitch Perfect 2 and the Charlie's Angels remake I didn't see. Also produced by Lord and Miller, which I think has a little bit to do with why I don't think it's a total train wreck. But I think this movie's not very good, and I'm going to disagree with the idea that there is something here. Like, this is, to me, a little bit better version of what we got with Snakes on a Plane, where you have this title and it doesn't live up to it at all. Like, I think that there's... I
mean, there is a bear on cocaine, so it does live up to that
okay,
title.
Right.
It delivers on that promise.
It delivers... you're right. On the literal taking the title completely literally, there is a bear on cocaine. To the promise of that title, I don't think this lives up to it at all. I think that the kills and the bear stuff, it's way too few and far between. You get essentially what is, and I don't think I'm the only one. I'm certainly not the only one to think this thought, but as I was watching it, a really low rent Coen Brothers sort of ripoff of these bumbling idiots trying to do something and everything falling apart. I just, man, I was not entertained in between the stuff with the bear attacking. Like, everybody's got a wacky line. I mean, the clip, if you could have seen the clip, but you heard the clip, Jesse Tyler Ferguson acting like a complete dipshit. Goddamn poor Margot Martindale having to do some terrible stuff here.
Yeah.
I think Isaiah Whitlock is okay. It is, though, a problem with his storyline, and it happens a couple of times in the movie where there's stuff that's happening that's completely disconnected from the bear.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is like if you're familiar with the old Simpsons episode where they introduced the character of Poochie on Itchy and Scratchy, this is a situation where anytime the cocaine bear is not on screen, everybody should be asking where the fuck the cocaine bear is, like Poochie. And the Isaiah Whitlock stuff, there's stuff that plays out that doesn't involve the bear, and I don't understand why.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but my take on it is just that I found the actual like cocaine bear of it all kind of unbearable.
I need to get a rim shot drop for in here.
Oh wait, hold on. Do I have one?
I need a soundboard. There's nothing like a late rim shot. So
I have a soundboard, but I don't know that it's connected through here right now. Anyway, but anyway, to go to that point, I just didn't find, I think it's the violence is supposed to play comical, and I just didn't find it amusing. It's just again, I just found it the only parts I enjoyed and found myself enjoyed was the in between the cocaine bear stuff.
Really?
Which is so I think if there was more of it, maybe it would have turned the tone of it all. But also I actually liked the beat, the beats of that other stuff way more than I did just watching a bear attack someone over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's another scene that I'm thinking of with O'Shea Jackson Jr. and 3 teen gang members or whatever they're supposed to be. Another wacky little hit that ultimately amounts to nothing. Thank you. That was perfectly timed. That amounts to nothing. It doesn't involve the fucking bear, and that's my whole thing. There's not enough of this fucking bear. The cocaine bear is that's the joke, that's the movie, that's the premise, and the stuff like I sent you an Onion clip or an Onion article that was published yesterday, I believe. Where the joke is that they're trying to string together a movie out of these viral clips, and that's what it fucking feels like. It feels like they had 5 good cocaine bear ideas, and they had to flesh it out to a 95-minute movie. And to be thankful, it doesn't overstay its welcome.
Right.
And there is there's a scene with an ambulance that I think is really well done that I wish would have been the entire movie would have been that kind of balls out crazy. But the movie just doesn't ever get there. It doesn't ever feel like it's really embracing the craziness of it, because there's this half-baked fucking gangster story happening underneath everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a big disappointment to me.
Well, and I think that's kind of a common theme, and I don't know if it's a major studio thing, or I don't know what it is, but it always does seem like whenever something has a batshit premise or idea behind it, it's relatively common that they don't go all in on it.
Mm-hmm.
If you mentioned Megan earlier, that's a great example of you have this super campy, ridiculous concept and idea that has gone viral.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just go full throttle? And I believe that was I've never actually seen it, but wasn't that the issue with Snakes on a Plane too? Was that it was relatively mild, all things considered?
Yeah, I mean it had it had the title in place, which I think was a placeholder title anyway, but somehow it got out. This is the early days. This is E-Bombs World era internet. Mm-hmm. And it was really just a shitty B movie, a shitty B movie, action movie, with Samuel L. Jackson. And it just never delivered on anything that it didn't, the batshitness of it never really came through. And I think that's the major problem with this. There are elements of it. Like I said, there's a scene in the middle of the movie with an ambulance that is fucking wild in the execution. But I think that everything else is just way too tame or way too really sub Tarantino dialogue stuff. There's recurring thing with O'Shea Jackson Jr. and Alden Ehrenreich playing 20 questions.
Oh yeah.
That just doesn't amount to anything. Like there's O'Shea Jackson like repeatedly getting terribly injured. That doesn't really amount to anything. It just feels like there's these other pieces of this thing that they mushed together to try to fill in the gaps between the Cocaine Bear, because for whatever reason they didn't want to go balls out Cocaine Bear. Like, and it also is like the Cocaine Bear stuff is really played for laughs, which is fine, but I don't know that it just doesn't feel like they could settle on a tone, like they could settle on what exactly they wanted this movie to be, and it really is a disappointment to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, Cody, what's your grade for Cocaine Bear?
What's my grade? I'll tell you my grade.
Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, like I said, I found I did not find the Cocaine Bear of it all amusing or fun or interesting. It does. We use this term, I think maybe too much, but it is an idea in search of a movie, and that's really like what it's a classic example of that. And so I give it a C. Yeah,
I'm gonna go with a C also. It just doesn't feel like it lives up to its, again, the batshit potential. The idea that this is supposed to be a movie about a cocaine bear, and there's probably 20-30 good minutes of the Cocaine Bear, and the rest of it's filled out with this story of these bumbling criminals and
this is Ray Liotta's potentially last movie too.
I mean, there is some stuff like the real like you get a sense early that it's going to really lean into like the kind of dirty underbelly of whatever this community is, where you have Brooklyn Prince's character and whoever plays little boy, like just flat out doing cocaine, like taking big spoonfuls of cocaine. Like, and if it really leaned into that kind of just shittiness, I think it would have been a little more interesting, but ultimately it just, I don't know. This is called padding out the show, Cody, because we're a little short today, but
we are. But you know what? It's every so often it's not too bad to do a little, short. I was going to use a vulgar term there, but
I'm curious what you were going to say, but
I was going to say hit it and quit it.
Don't Dilbert us, Cody.
I said vulgar, not racist.
Okay, good. I just don't. We don't want that shit. All right, that's gonna do it for this week. Next week, Cody.
Yeah.
Creed 3.
Yeah.
A movie that we both saw fairly early. Also, a movie called Operation Fortune. How do you say this? Ruse de Guerre.
Yeah,
that sounds right. The latest from Guy Ritchie. Famously delayed a year. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So and then that also will be the Oscars will be the following week. So we've got a lot coming up here within these next 2 weeks. Yes. And then South by Southwest is that weekend too.
Oh shit, I forgot about that. Yeah. All right. If you want to reach us, you can email us at podcast@cinesnob.net. You can find us on Twitter @cinesnob, Facebook cinesnobnet, youtube.com/cinesnob. Cody, anything else before we go?
No. Follow me on Letterboxd, letterboxd.com/cinesnobcody if you want to follow along with what I'm watching. It's going to be the best place to keep track of my South by Southwest views and opinions. And we're February 26th. Everything is up to date right now. So
look at you.
Yeah.
Look at you. Got Cocaine Bear in there and some other stuff. So that means if you wanted to find out Cody's Creed 3 review early, you could go to Letterboxd. So
you could do that.
It's like reading the novelization of a movie before it hits the theaters. So
of course, spoilers. And everyone loves doing that.
Exactly the same thing. I know some people that do that, and that's bizarre behavior to me. But
it is strange.
All right. On that note, I'm Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafana.
Thank you for listening to the CineSnob Podcast. To read reviews, interviews, and more, visit cinesnob.net. See you next week.